Alrighty, welcome friends. Here's my answer to my Kayak live bait tube. It's a little bit of a spin on the norm. So it's also a free model. It's got a little shock absorbing rod leash here just so it doesn't bash the live bait around too much. That'll just clip to the boat like this. And here's the major difference on my little spin of it. It's just got a large opening slot where you can easily access the squid or live bait. Anyway, here's how we make it. Let's go. Alright, we start off with a little bit of stormwater pipe. It's 90mm stuff, and this is one that I've been shipped a rod in from Mo Tackle. So you can see here it just comes with the caps, and you've probably received one like this yourself. They're very cheap if you do need to buy it from a hardware store. So what I'm going to do now is just roughly mark out how long I'm going to go. I'm going to work at about 700mm for the main tube, and then I'll use the leftover to mark out my little hatch like this. I'm just using a little piece of cardboard that I've found, which was about the right size for the hatch, I believe. And this is our Mark 1 version, so we're just going to see how it turns out. So it's starting to look like a thing now, and getting time to cut it. So let's do that. If you haven't guessed, this is going to be the outer sleeve, so we can spin it around and access the fish when we put it on the tube. So the handsaw wasn't much fun, so we'll switch over to the multi tool and see if we can get it done a bit quicker. It seems to be cutting through just fine. It's a little bit wild on the cuts, but this is basically our tester. So we're just beta testing this because I've got quite a few of these little rod tubes. So basically this one's just our rough prototype. But I'm pretty happy with how it's turned out. It's got a fair bit of spring in it, and we should be good. So we'll see if it slides on and grips okay. And it's got enough tension that it's not going to fall open when the fish and the squid are in there. So I think we're onto a good thing. As you can see here, I've just sort of made another little square just smaller than the outside sleeve, so that I know that it'll cover it. And my hand will go in there nicely, so it should be a thing. So let's cut her out. So that turned out fine, and I'm just thinking now that I look at it that it might, the outer sleeve might migrate up and down the shaft, so we might work out something to stop it from migrating up and down. So I'm thinking of using a zip tie, so I'll just bang a zip tie around there and it should stop that from happening. But other than that, it's sliding around down the bottom. I'm not going to glue the cap at the base end, and it should just form fit on there. So I'll pop this little zip tie on, see how it goes. It's quite thick, so it works out pretty well with the thickness of the pipe. Alrighty, so that's all trimmed, and here we go. It looks like it could work. What do you reckon? Okay. So now we're just going to mark out all the holes. You can see I've marked out the holes here, and I'm going to run a bit of tube across the top here, just some pool needle to just have it semi-submerged and floating along behind me. And I've also got all the other drain holes here along the bottom. So I'll go through now and I'll start drilling these, and it should be good. Just using a stepped drill bit here. I'm not going to go too crazy on the holes just yet. I'll drill more in later if I find that it needs them. So this is the dimensions here of the slot that I cut in. So it's around 21 by 13 for the inner slot. We're just making the top cap now, just a few holes in this one because it's not going to have a lot of water going in and out of here. This is just a bungee from a tie down, and it just was laying around, so I thought it would be good. It'll be just another little shock absorber in the chain so the fish aren't getting bashed around in there too much. Next I'm just going to add in my nose cone, which in this case is just a cheap plastic funnel that I've got from a hardware store, and then I am going to glue this in place with just some hot glue at this point. So just using this half round piece of pool needle to add some buoyancy to the top, just so it stays semi-submerged when I'm towing it along and doesn't sink down to Davy Jones's locker. So I'm just going to zip tie this one through with a few small zip ties and using those holes that we drilled a little bit earlier. If you've got more than a double-digit IQ, you'll probably get to about this point where I am here now and realise that I've made a bit of a boo-boo. I was going to have the hatch at the top of the tube, but I'll have to make it at the side. Obviously the pool noodle's going to get in my way. Alrighty, so I've moved the flotation around 90 degrees, and now we're just going to attach the cap on just using these tri-grip rivets here, and that's just so we can get in there later because we're not going to glue it down, otherwise it'll be a pain to access the inside to make any modifications. But it all seems to go down alright, and here it is, all glued in and all complete. Alrighty, project number 2. This one's a little bit of a favourite of mine, and it's a real game changer for me because I tend to try a lure for 10 seconds and then switch over to another lure, and then there's all a bunch of lures floating around the cockpit of the kayak. So it's going to be a pretty quick one, guys. I'll just quickly show you over it. Just because of the size of the lid on this one, it makes it perfect for drilling a number of these little holes around the top. And you can see I've only drilled around halfway around, and that's plenty to put in soft plastics and hard bodies around the top, and it keeps them out of each other's way and they don't get tangled. So it works out really well like that. And just on the bottom here we've got 4 holes, and they're just drainage holes. This lets you rinse everything out so your hooks don't go rusty, and it drains out just fine. The big globs of hot glue on the bottom just help it drain when you put it down on a flat surface, so the drain holes don't get clogged up and water doesn't sit in there and rust the hooks. And I find that it's optimal size to fit in the cup holders, and also optimal size to fit in all my bits and pieces like my squidgy scent and also bits of cut off line, etc. And it stores it all handily. But what you can't do is leave your little soft plastics, especially if they're mixed types like this, inside it. I'll show you why. Why, guys, this is a little science experiment I did up. It's highly scientific. I just popped a few different brands into one little clip lock bag. It's been in there probably for about 2 months now. I just wanted to see what happened. So a lot of them shrunk. The ones that came off worst were probably all of them. So all of them you wouldn't be able to use anymore. But the ones that really got eaten up were the bait junkie ones. So let's have a little dig around in there. Ugh. That's the bait junkie one. It is dead. So the squidgy one looks alright, apart from its tail got all monged up and shrunken, and it's sort of gone hard, which is pretty weird. I'll pop it next to this factory fresh one here, and you can see the difference. But yeah, definitely not usable. Here's a branch power bait, and here's the little Z-Man. He did not fare well. However, much better than these 2 bait junkies. They were destroyed.